Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. We're back quick split because it's another double weekend. Feels like it's been a while since I've actually had a back-to-back, but there's so many more of these to come.
Yeah, too many.
We are back. Obviously, we had the boring old race of Imola, and we're like, wow, where are we going now? We're going to have a real big fight and three-way with three different teams down to T1.
I can't wait.
It's Monaco! Thank you, we'll see you next week. I feel like sometimes Monaco comes like around or after Baku or something, so you go, well look, at least we can have this, but there's other circuits to come to. But the fact it's after Imola and the type of Imola weekend we have, it's interesting because some people are saying, well actually, because it's even harder to overtake here, and because even Red Bull are going, we think we're really vulnerable in quali here, maybe it means that we actually are going to get another team that's going to win here. But even if they do, it could just be boring anyway. So it's
It's one of those where you're never really excited for the race at Monaco because unless it rains, the last couple of years we've had some rain during the race, and that does make it interesting because it throws all, particularly when it's wet to dry or dry to wet, conditions. It does 100%. Throw up a lot of, but that's the same with any circuit, right? But particularly here in a race that is so, you qualify P1, you finish the race P1, you qualify P13, maybe you overtake in the pit stop, you finish P12, or if you make more than sort of 3 places, it's like, hey, you've had a damn good race here. But qualifying is always interesting because it is so. It's not about it is about the pace of the car and the pace of the driver, but it's all about confidence, right? The driver that can get confident with the car and with the circuit and with the pace that they have, the quickest and the best generally puts in the fastest lap, right? So, like even last year we saw Alonso was very, very close to getting that pole before Max decided to put in a god lap as he sometimes does, but and this was when Red Bull was even more dominant than I think it is at the moment in terms of qualifying. So qualifying I am super excited for because I could very easily see someone that's not Max on pole this weekend.
Yeah, and I guess a trend we're seeing more now is that drivers don't have the whole tire life through the whole lap, and especially here when you look at that third sector, you need so much confidence and so much commitment, and if you lose any sort of tire there, you could pull a Leclerc like he did in the past, right? I mean, admittedly in that day he did get the pole, but that's because he put in the effort on his first run. But you could easily see it here. So this was always a track. We're back in the Mercedes era. This is a chance for Red Bull. So it makes you feel it's a little bit like, it's not like the Red Bull we know is poor here, but that was a different era now. I mean, Helmut Marko, I think, has come up and he's even said, look, we're actually kind of worried here. Like, this could even be tougher than the last 2 weekends we've had.
It always seems to be. It's not even. This is the thing with Monaco is, yes, it always suited the Red Bull when Mercedes was strong, but it's also one of those where Monaco it's so different from every other track, right? If your car is so dominant at every other circuit, there's a good chance it's just not suited for Monaco.
I know what you mean.
So it's one of those like the second, third team, the one that's. It's not. It has its moments on other race weekends, but like here is where it's like this car is made for this track. Not on purpose, but it feels like it is made for this track. And I feel like because the Red Bull has been so dominant, we saw how under pressure Max was last year. It was extremely close, and if he hadn't put in the lap of the century, he would not have been on pole, and good chance he may not have won that race as well. So I think there is a good chance, particularly in McLaren and Ferrari, you're looking at one of those. All 4 drivers have a chance to usurp. It's not like, it could be one driver from one team. He's got 4 drivers he has to fend off for this pole time now.
4 drivers that are quite competent at the moment. Yes.
And
not even one of those is his teammate. So he doesn't even have that. I mean, his teammate tried in the past with, I think what we're waiting for when he retires to hear the to even hear the true story of his spin halfway around the lap.
Yeah,
I
that'll
guess
be in
we'll have
the
to...
autobiography. Yeah,
That was about as close as he got. So,
yeah,
as you said, like a McLaren the Fry, which could be, particularly those McLaren drivers, and both McLaren drivers on the up.
yeah.
Could just nail it here. We hope anyway. We
Yes,
hope. I mean,
yeah.
if they don't, it will actually be Max's record-breaking 9 poles in a row, which would just be as astounding if he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at least there's some credit. We will be seeing history.
Yeah, something.
Being written in some
There
way.
is a very, I was going to say small chance. It's like almost like getting up to 50% chance of rain on the Saturday as well.
I was
going
to say that it was 40 last I checked, and
Okay.
that was more than it was earlier in the week.
And I checked literally just before, it was up at 45, so it's
Yes,
going up.
that's already higher than what I saw.
Yeah, and from what we've seen, very small amounts of wet running. McLaren looks pretty quick. Max
Yes.
doesn't look,
And especially a wet around this track would even further emphasize cars that are better in the wet. In theory.
Yeah.
And even if you're doing a wet to dry, well, then who knows? Because when you got quali on a drying track, then it's just you could have anyone. in
It's
that
all
top
about
10.
timing.
You could have a
and-
Haas,
yeah.
an RB, who knows, and then who knows where that goes.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
we're
Yeah,
finding reasons to actually be excited
Look,
about.
we're
this
coming off
weekend,
Imola.
which is positive.
Give this to us,
It's
please.
true. It's true. But there are a few other little things. McLaren actually have a pretty visually, what do you call it, dynamic tribute livery.
Yeah.
They are doing an Ayrton Senna tribute, and no, they're not going back to their old McLaren,
As much as
white and
people
red
want
colours.
that, yeah.
Yes, they are actually taking that classic lid and actually kind of laying that over the car. So it looks like almost a different team. There's like no relation, which is pretty striking.
It's I've seen like mixed responses to it. I thought it looked incredible. It's obviously not McLaren because it's obviously so far removed from the orange, but as a livery, as a one-off livery, I think it looks incredible. Personally,
I think it looks great, And I get some people like, well, hold on, he actually drove for you. Why aren't you just running the car that he ran? It's like, that's fair enough, but it does look visually stunning.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if, this is Monaco anyway. Sometimes other teams bring little things.
True,
so we'll have to see. But again, we are recording this a little earlier in the week, and sometimes it takes another 24, 48 hours for some of these things to come up.
It'll happen like 3 hours after we finish. It's fine.
We may even see some teams bring a Monaco specific package as well. Who knows at this point?
I think all of them have to. They have to bring full downforce stuff, right? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, speaking of those cars, Ferrari the last few years has had pace here. It's often been actually in the race where they've been let down, where they've been strong, or we actually have the curse of Leclerc where. I know, the curse of Leclerc, he still doesn't even have a podium here, despite the fact he's such strong performances. Yeah. So he would be keen to break that bubble and, of course, aim higher than just a standard podium if he can as well. We'll have to see. And then there's the rest of the field. I mean, who knows at this point? You could even if you think about a Mercedes, are they just going to miss out on Q1 and they have a pointless weekend? It's not out of the question.
Yeah, it could happen.
You could have an RB that kills quali. It's this type of weekend. We do also have F2 and F3 here. There is also Porsche Super Cup, which I always find interesting because how would those cars race around here other than just literally follow the leader? They're not exactly the smallest cars.
It's like I remember every time we watch it at Australia as well, it's very much follow the leader. You don't really see too much side-by-side action.
Exactly. They really like big open circuits or longer endurance circuits rather than Monaco, so we'll have to see. But yes, F2 and F3. I know I'm particularly excited for the F2 here. It normally can sometimes be an underdog story that can come through here as well. Yeah. A driver that just gets quali right. Quali is also often quite chaotic here. They do have kind of a split system. And particularly for F3 with so many cars, even though they have the split system, it's still, there's chaos.
Yeah, 15 cars in every session, so that's a lot.
Yes. Yeah. So, and sometimes they're not bad as well, but I mean, we will be watching it.
F3, I feel like in particular, there's been a lot of fighting, like aggressive.
Again, they are smaller,
moves,
so they can actually do things around here.
Yeah, so
smaller and less powerful.
I'll be surprised if there's not a red flag in either of the, or both of the F3 races for sure.
We should go into, I guess, our points. I mean, in our Imola debrief, you alluded to the fact that I actually got the Ricciardo right, so I do get 2 points to catch up.
Yeah.
But on the podium side, our choice to go different meant that we actually both
Ended
scored
up
the
the
same
same,
at the end
yeah.
of the day.
Yeah.
Because we both got it right for Max, and we each had a Ferrari or McLaren correct up there, but they're in the wrong position.
Yeah.
So
I noticed that as well when I was thinking about it. I'm
Yes.
like, that's kind of worked out well.
So fortunate I got the +2. I am
Yeah.
starting to claw back, and maybe already now with my following predictions, I've decided let's throw caution to the wind. And obviously now I'm back in contention, right? There's no gap there.
Well, I might be doing the same, so...
Good. So scores we have is myself on 10, finally made it to double digits, and you are on 12.5. So still a bit of a gap there. We do
Yeah.
need the random number. This could be quite an important number. I almost hope we get it. Maybe we just try to get a top 10 number here, because I feel like that might be more interesting than the rest of it.
True, yeah.
10. That's not a bad
perfect.
number.
There you go.
That's a good number. It did get 11. I'm like, no, I don't
No.
want 11. 10. That's better.
10's good, yeah. Because there's been, you've got someone like Yuki who is just always P10 at the moment, and when it's not him, it's
Yeah.
Hulkenberg, right?
Yeah, exactly. Those are your first two thoughts.
But Monaco's a different story.
Who's going to get P10 in quali? Maybe
That's what I
your thought
mean.
there.
Like, who's struggling in qualifying? I'm going to go Hamilton. I'm going to say he's
Oh, wait, that's a good pick.
P10. Yep. Because he's struggling in qualifying. He's not made Q3 a couple of times now. Like, even if he's just outside top 10, I reckon he could probably somehow muster a way back into P10. But I could also see him just qualifying P10 and just staying P10 as well. So, yeah, we'll go Lewis. Sorry, Lewis.
There you go. Isn't it amazing how maybe last year for our predictions, we might have been putting him
As the
P2,
win.
P3 or something
Yeah.
like that. Even the W, maybe, if you're feeling...
If you were bold. Yeah.
Exactly. But now a P10. Wow,
Yeah.
how the times change. And I'm not even surprised with that.
Yeah.
I think maybe I will go with Mr. Reliable P10 Hulkenberg for this.
Okay.
I can see a scenario maybe he even qualifies 8th or 9th or something like that with how his trend has been going. And maybe he has a bit of a train and then someone undercuts him, but he still kind of scores a point. Maybe that's how I see things working.
Yeah,
So,
it's safe bet. Safe bet.
yeah. So we do need to go with our predictions. Maybe we start with P3 here.
Okay.
I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll go. I have to break his curse. I'm gonna have Charles Leclerc at P3.
Okay.
I think he could pull out an incredible lap in qualifying and go for P1. Getting his car in the right window where he nails all three sectors at the moment just seems to be not something he can do. There's always, on his fastest lap, there's always one part of the lap where it's like you haven't quite got it right. So I guess maybe he just doesn't quite have the confidence. I think that's also a big thing over the one lap. If he was nailing these laps and getting, leading up to this, he was putting in these huge qualifying laps leading up to this, then I would be like, okay, yeah, maybe he's confident enough to launch straight into qualifying and go right up there. But yeah, as it stands right now, I don't know that he has enough to qualify P1. Maybe he could sneak a P2 and then drop to P3, but I think it's probably likely he'll qualify P3, P4, and then sneak his way onto the podium. So
it's interesting because in the not too recent future, the whole shtick was that he had so many poles and just had like the record for not converting any of them.
Not too distant
and yet
past.
now
I'm about to say, if you're looking into the future, you said not too distant future.
So yeah,
Wow.
well, maybe it is. Maybe it is as well.
It could
maybe
be.
this is
Could
as
still
well.
be.
And yet you'd go here and you'd say that car, is as close as it's almost ever been. Maybe like in the past it was, it was a bit further ahead, but he was then still doing well.
Yeah.
And yet here I kind of agree because I also have him P3 for similar reasons.
Okay,
in that if you were pretty steadfast on it, you would put him higher than that to go surely he's had the bad luck, he's had the not being able to start, he's had the crash or whatever.
Yeah.
Or he's had the weather with the bad strategy.
Yeah.
And yet it just still doesn't feel right, but there's still enough in that car to say
I wouldn't be surprised if he did it,
surely.
but it just doesn't quite feel right, like you say.
But at least the podium, surely.
Oh yeah, he's got to break it. So got to break that curse.
Your P2.
I've got Max.
You have Max.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we've got Lando P1. I think he's gonna qualify. He's on a high, I think, at the moment.
P1.
I think it's pretty likely. I really like the McLaren for Monaco, just based on all the characteristics I've seen, and it's so hard to predict for Monaco. But I just think that McLaren's going to be. I just think it's going to be fast, and I think Max. I don't even know if he'll be. I mean, he will be under pressure. He might even pull out a really good lap, but I just think Lando's on such a high at the moment. Obviously, coming off his first win recently as well, nearly caught
and
Max.
Pretty mega, Imola performance.
Yes. I could absolutely see him qualifying P1, holding it till the end of the race with how hard it is to overtake. Even his race pace, maybe early on, not quite as strong as Max was in Imola, but yeah, that late race pace was just unbelievable. So yeah, I'm gonna back Lando to win in Monaco. So yeah,
good on you. What I wanted to put was basically P1, not Max, and then I realized I still had to put a driver there. And that's kind of what stumped me,
right?
Because I agreed in not putting him in P1.
Right.
I mean, I kind of went. There's merit to it.
Yeah, it's probably the best chance all year.
Yeah, but I have gone with a different driver, which I guess I'm quite happy about.
Right.
I think both the Ferraris are going to be pretty on top of things here. And I can kind of just see this type of weekend like we had in Melbourne, like we had in Singapore, where Sainz does just pick it up. And kind of as much as Leclerc will do well, he will just get outshined. And as I say, it's not like he hasn't done this before. This is literally what happened the last 2 times we talked. This scenario kind of came up.
True.
So,
wow.
But I also say you could easily substitute any of those 4 drivers in these slots around Max for first, third, and I guess what will be fourth at the end of the day.
Piastri's qualifying performances lately have been mega as well.
You could just see him pull it out and get P1, and you would be like, I'm not surprised. But I've got to commit to something. I kind of feel like the Ferrari double maybe in my mind, but it's more very logical what you said as well, as I say.
So have you got P2?
I didn't expect us to... Yeah, Max P2.
Oh, you went Max P2. Okay, yeah. I thought you I thought you were doing the...
Had him completely off.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. So...
Sick.
I don't know. We hope so. But maybe... It's
There's
it's
a
good
little
that
bit
we're
of
both
hopium, but yeah.
There's a bit of hopium from both of us, which is nice.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. Maybe after the results on Saturday, we choose to not stay up late to watch on Sunday. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
I guess we should round it out. There's not much to say at this point. As we say, there always could be a few things that will pop up, so keep an eye on the social media feeds and the news stories and whatnot, because I'm sure things will pop up from the Thursday and the Friday as things do kick off. Make sure you've got your umbrella, because I imagine we'll get dropped somewhere. Doesn't look like much for Sunday, but we hope that the Friday, Saturday maybe causes some positive effects that lead into the Sunday. We'll have to see. But otherwise... Once the, hopefully, Titanic result has come through, we'll be back to discuss it after the weekend.
Yes.
So make sure you tune in for that. And if you're listening to this and want to leave a comment, let us know if you think that we are completely off the rails or if you also are huffing the hopium. We would love to know.
It's good hopium. Come join.
It's very good, very good. But otherwise, guys, until then, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.